Hey guys, it's me, Jay Lutz, and today we're going to be talking about the new Fallout TV show based off of the games made by Bethesda and Obsidian. I know I said I wasn't sure if I was going to cover this in my last video, and that was based on whether I had a strong opinion on it or not when I actually watched the show. But yeah, the show is out, all 8 episodes. After watching all of them relatively quickly so I can get this video out while the show is still being discussed online a lot, I have a lot to say about it. I am, however, getting over a cold, so if I sound kind of sick, then that's why. But before we get into that, I want to thank everybody who watched the last video, everyone who commented. It was extremely great to see everyone's opinions on it. The video did really well, generated a lot of discussion. Some of it very passionate. Okay, a lot of it very, very passionate. But hey, I welcome all of it. Also, thanks to everyone who subscribed. You have no idea how much I appreciate that, how much it grows the channel. Hopefully this video performs similarly. Also, I'm using a different mic. Does it sound better? Sorry. Okay, I won't start on longer. Watch, start talking about the show. Even though probably 90% of the people who clicked on the video have already clicked off. So, yeah. One last thing. There will be spoilers. Massive spoilers for the entire show and the Fallout games. You've been warned. Alright, let's go. Now, a bit of background for y'all is that I am sort of a fan of the original Fallout games. I know people who have played them way more than I have, and my only experience is probably like 10 hours in Fallout 3, a few in Fallout 4, and I think I played New Vegas at a friend's house years ago, but I don't remember a lot about it except for the intro. I did freshen up on the story of New Vegas just a bit, since I knew that the implementation of New Vegas into this game's story, quote-unquote lack thereof, was a highly debated topic online right now, but we will talk about that later. Going in, what I mostly remembered and really loved about Fallout was the vibe, tone, and just like the idea of it, the premise of it being this war-torn, steampunk-esque America where you choose a faction, get to know a bunch of funny, quirky, wacky characters, encounter weird mutated monsters, and try your best to survive in this odd, dangerous wasteland. What I was really hoping for is that the show understood what made playing those games so special and captured the unique tone of the games. And as most of you probably know, when it comes to video game adaptations, it is basically one giant coin toss whether they turn out good or bad.
You know, Duke, I bet secretly you have a big heart.
Oh, yeah? And that's not the only secret big thing I got.
But based off that first teaser trailer, it seemed like the show was actually going to be pretty great. I love the nod to the 50s inspired style present in the games, and that Nat King Cole song they chose to play over the trailer itself was a really nice touch. It looked just the right amount of zany and thrilling, and once I saw that trailer, I was highly anticipating it and had moderately high expectations for it. And then the show dropped last week and I watched the first episode, and hot damn, does this show have one of the best pilot episodes I have ever seen. Yeah, I'm not kidding. Like, I've seen a lot of great pilot episodes for great shows, but this is in that tier. It's such a fitting introduction into this world. I honestly think it's just about perfect. The first thing the show gets correct right away is the visual aesthetic and the tone. As far as being faithful to the look and feel of the games, this show knocks it out of the park, and it's kind of indisputable. Everything in the vaults has this 50s to the 60s vintage sheen finish that really makes the colors pop in this like seemingly quaint underground imitation of Cold War America. The deserts of California and Nevada are captured beautifully in this style of a spaghetti western, and the dilapidated, destroyed architecture everywhere makes the world feel dead. But at the same time, there are so many corners of the world where characters or creatures or really anything could be hiding, and it adds this unpredictability to the story, kind of like how you would explore the world of the Mojave Wasteland in New Vegas, or California in Fallout 3. Structurally, the episode weaves the perspectives of 3 characters that we're going to be following throughout the show, all of which with very different personalities, goals, and roles in the actual story. Lucy is a resident of Vault 33 with a very optimistic and naive mindset about the world. Her people and their collective mission is the most important thing in her life, and she has no idea what awaits her once she ventures off to the surface in search of her father. Her quirky and innocent traits are tested as she slowly learns that not only is life on the surface hostile and extremely dangerous, but that the ideals and rules that applied in her small sanctuary that she's lived in her whole life don't apply in this lawless America. Most people don't view the Vault Dwellers as one-day saviors, but as cowards who's burrowed down and underground and stayed there, while the rest of the people up on the surface just rotted. After that, being introduced to Maximus, who is a devout, low-ranking member of the Brotherhood, who like to think of themselves as not only the higher authority of the Wasteland, but also the preservers of lost relics, aka pre-war items, that are now seen as highly valuable. His goal is to become a respected knight and save people just as he was once saved by a knight when his home was destroyed. He too must come to face the fact that the cause he once adhered to isn't noble or righteous in any way, and once he meets Lucy, it gives him a new perspective on the world that was very interesting to see him fully realize. Finally, at the close of the episode, we officially meet Cooper, a once beloved Western film star, now an immortal, terrifying, disfigured gunslinger who knows the truth about the bombs and really has nobody left in his life and just goes around scavenging for anything, killing anybody in his path that'll lead him to where his family may or may not be alive. And with all that going on, the show is still paced perfectly. There is not a single dull moment. Every second, you are learning something new about the world, the story, or the cast of characters. Interspersed are moments of great comedy.
So what's your sperm count?
Moments of brutal, campy violence, and moments of true badassery.
I do this shit for the love of the game.
There are other pretty entertaining characters like Chet or Thaddeus, who also provide some great comic relief, especially Thaddeus, who I think is a really great character to pair with Maximus to propel his arc forward. I really like Michael Emerson in this show, and I kind of wish his character didn't get killed off so early, but it was necessary for the progression of the story. Yeah, no, the rest of the show is similarly amazing. The show is just exceedingly fun to watch. I could not put it down. I watched this shit with ferocity. And as I kept watching, I noticed more small little things that really let me appreciate the people who were behind the scenes making the show. It's pretty clear that not only did Jonathan Nolan and the rest of the actors carefully study the source material, but they were also extremely passionate about telling their own unique story within the world. After making Westworld, he was honestly the perfect choice to how a project like this, with this post-apocalyptic kind of a direction that the story takes. I gotta give props to Amazon and Todd Howard for making the right choice and who to trust with the IP, unlike some other companies. I love how each big character beat is punctuated by a really important choice that these characters have to make that will inevitably change their future or their relationships with other people, just like the freedom of choice you get in other Fallout games, such as when Maximus chooses to let his knight die, or Lucy decide to help bring the head of Michael Emerson's character to Mordor. These important moments are played extremely well by their respective actors. The standouts for me being Ella Purnell as Lucy, but especially Walton Goggins as Cooper Howard. And I am so happy that he is getting his chance to spotlight as a phenomenal actor after he was so great in Justified. He plays this slimy, villainous gunslinger so well, and you always feel like he has the upper hand even when the odds are way against him. And you also still care about him and feel for him because you see how far he's fallen from way back in the pre-war time in the 50s, where you see he's trying to figure out what's going on. You still really feel for him, even today, because he's just lost so much. He's honestly extremely similar to the Man in Black from Westworld, albeit I don't think they will go on a similar route with this character, especially considering where his head is at the end of the season. Another thing that I absolutely adore are the nods to classic old spaghetti western scenes or archetypes. Not just in the flashback scenes where we see Cooper, play that cowboy role that he played before the bombs dropped. There's a scene towards the midpoint of the season where Lucy and Maximus encounter two strangers like circa 100 yards away on a tight bridge, and both parties have to cross it to reach the destination they're trying to go to. But they don't want to cross for fear of just being jumped and killed when they get too close and their blinds being plundered. There's this Mexican standoff-esque stare down where the camera gets really close to everyone's eye line before a quick but weighty gunfight breaks out. And it just reads as a great scene that reminds you of just the everyday challenges that would be associated with living and operating in a world that's this bare bones and this unforgivable. There's also a scene where Cooper is looking for information on where to find Moldaver, so he invades the home of this probably former NCR family based on the gear that they're wearing. And the scene plays out almost identical to this scene from The Good, the Bad, the Ugly, complete with someone making a meal for the intruder out of fear of being killed. And of course, the scene ends in tragedy, and the gunslinger leaves behind a fractured family in his wake, having received the exact information that he wants. The designs of the creatures, like the Yaguai bear, the gulper, and the giant roaches, are amazing too. The CGI is barely noticeable. I'm not sure for the T-60s if they actually built a suit on set. I know that some parts of it had to be practical, but I imagine that at least a little bit of it had to have been CG. But I mean, if there was, or even if there wasn't, either way, the effects work on that, it's astounding for a TV show. It looks amazing. They stretch their budget perfectly. Any scene where the characters have to deal with one of these like creatures is just thrilling. I love the detail they add about the gulper, where its tendrils are human fingers, implying that the gulpers we see in the show were once humans who maybe just crossbred with amphibians or were contaminated by some amphibious organism or due to the radiation. Okay, but let's get into the finale, because most of the stuff that I think will piss off a lot of the Fallout fanboys or just people who are really passionate about this universe are gonna want to have their opinions seen online. Let's talk about it let's just dive in. Just dive into that cesspool of shit. So before the show came out, there was a lot of buzz surrounding the fact that, number one, Todd Howard was involved in it, because apparently the Fallout fanbase just absolutely despises him.
Long live the king.
Because of his disrespect towards the New Vegas games, and I have no opinion on that. I haven't played 76. I haven't played Fallout in a long time. I did play a little bit of Fallout 3 in preparation for the video, but not enough to really get a new opinion on it or to glean new details from what I had before. I just needed a refresher. But anyway, the big controversy surrounding the show was that the NCR, the New California Republic, would not be in the show, and that this would drastically change the canon for New Vegas and Shady Sands and the timeline of Fallout New Vegas in general. And a ton of people were saying online they would not watch the show, even fucking boycott the show, simply because the NCR would not be a key part of season 1. Now, let me just come out and say that this mentality around the showrunners changing the source material is stupid. I understand that changing key parts of the story or canon of the original source material when adapting some material may sound alarming at first, but you can't just write off the entire show because the showrunners decide to make a couple of changes when telling their own story set in this fictional world. You're not even giving it a chance at that point. Now, if you watch the show and you see the changes made, and you see what they actually changed with the story, and you don't like that, and you think it's bad for that reason, I respect that. But if you're not gonna watch a show at all, then you have no horse in this race, because you haven't even seen the show. You don't know what the show's like. I don't just mean reading some sort of synopsis of the show online. You have to watch the show and engage with it and see if the adaptation works for you personally. I don't want to see an adaptation of the exact same story with the exact same characters and the exact same plot as any of the Fallout games, including Vegas, including Fallout 4, including Fallout 3. I want to see something new, and you should too. Otherwise, there's no surprises, and it's just gonna feel stale, unadventurous, maybe like too faithful in a way. It'd be one thing if these changes were poorly implemented, or if the show just completely missed the mark on what Fallout is about, but here we have an original story that still stays very true to the source material in every way, at least in my opinion, respects the source material, and presents new ideas that in some ways improve upon the original game's storylines. I love the idea of explicitly making the perpetrator of the original bombings being Vault-Tec. It presents the characters with something that is very difficult to come to grips with, and it sets all the characters on very interesting paths that I'm very excited to see explored in later seasons, especially with Lucy and with her father now carrying the mantle of a money-grubbing ideology that has proven to be ineffective at saving the world, and more importantly, just downright malicious. Not to mention the NCR are actually like kind of in the show. They just aren't the same NCR as the NCR in New Vegas. Instead of Shady Sands representing the faction at its strongest, here the construction of the city is kind of led to its downfall. Once Hank found out that Rose took Lucy there, it was burnt to ashes. And I think that's kind of interesting inversion on what would have happened if the NCR just completely was eradicated. How will they rise back up? And the idea that Hank will probably build New Vegas into something far darker than we see in New Vegas is an interesting idea. It's handled really, really well. I thought the intrigue surrounding the infinite energy core inside of the human head and the Vault-Tec's dealings and how Moldaver and Cooper tie into all of this is exciting to watch, and the final episode boasts some of the best action in the season, especially with that incredibly shot sequence where Cooper destroys all the T-60s by shooting them in their weak points. The adaptation is just so good, man. It gets damn near everything right and adds stuff I didn't even know I wanted to see. My only issues with the season are like pretty nitpicky, honestly. Like there are times where I'm not sure how characters are finding each other, or I'm not sure who has trackers on who, or how one character can track another character, and there are times where main characters just happen upon other people that will help advance the plot, and it seems a bit convenient. I also say that Norman's subplot back in Vault 33, where he's slowly discovering what Vault-Tec has been harvesting for 200 years. While fun, and at times very disturbing, I did enjoy the stuff on the surface more for sure, just because the environment is a bit more interesting. But hey, it tied into the finale really well, and I think that it was really fun to watch as usual, though. It wasn't a weak part of the show, it just wasn't my favorite part. And yeah, that's all my issues, honestly. This is easily one of the best and most faithful video game adaptations I've ever seen, and the future of projects like these is looking really bright with new seasons of Arcane, Castlevania, and Last of Us coming fairly soon. Honestly, I think the show is my favorite of all those. Don't avoid it because of some bullshit with New Vegas canon. Don't avoid it because that new Halo show is sticky or some shit like that. Trust me and watch it. I'm gonna give this crackerjack season of TV a 9.5 out of 10.